Okay, today, humans, I have a very exciting story to tell you about how Casey got over her work stress. But first, I have a very important point to tell you that I may or may not be using a masking filter to make me look this beautiful. So, let's get on to Casey. Casey was this wonderful, ideal employee, always in the top performer every single year, but it was taking a toll on her. The amount of work stress that she felt, that she always put on herself to make sure that she was a top performer, to make sure that everyone got along with her, to make sure that she collaborated, to make sure that she outwitted, outdid, and outcompeted everyone, to make sure she beat the competition. She was dying on the inside because it caused her so much stress because she felt she had to be this performer, this perfect employee. Okay, so when she realized that the amount of stress it was giving her was basically at a big sacrifice, it was knocking her out. It was bringing her down. It was causing her so much stress. Obviously, that's not a comfortable position to be in, but it was destroying her health. It constantly kept her in the state of fight or flight. She couldn't sleep well because of the stress. She brought the stress home to her family. They felt it. It spread to them, and basically, she was completely unhappy while her health was deteriorating. So she decided to figure it out. And that's when she came to the IC solution. What is the IC solution, you ask? Well, that's what we're here to talk about. That's pretty much the only thing I ever talk about. So, first, let me start by giving you a little introduction to the IC solution. And I'm going to do that by sharing my screen. And by the way, I'm just starting to make these videos. I've been working on the IC solution forever because I had to, because it got me out of my deep, dark alcoholism and my own anxieties and made me a happy person. Now I figure out a way to help a lot of people. But I'm just getting launched, just starting to do these support videos as of 10 days ago. So it's gonna suck. But you deal with it because maybe you can get over your work stress or your alcoholism or everything else. And let's do it. Sharing my screen. We're talking, getting back to good old Casey and her fantastic performance at work. Okay, this little diagram here is just a real quick overview of the IC solution. And it's not even the IC solution, but the IC perspective that we ask you to take on so that you can start to make some changes in your life. Now, first, Casey was living through the default perspective. And that perspective is that she was all the thoughts and all the emotions, no matter how toxic they got, and all the behaviors that she carried out. That was what she was. That was who she was. That's what defined her. Now, the IC perspective, we take on a new perspective. We take on this perspective where you are not all your thoughts. You are not all of your. It is hot in here, isn't it? I'm going to take this off, okay? And since I'm not cutting this video, you get to watch me strip down. Okay. She was going to take on the IC perspective. And that is when any human who takes on the IC perspective, instead of being, oh, did I mess up all of my perfect hairs? Oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. IC perspective. The IC perspective is when a human takes on a new perspective of what's going on inside their head, where they become the consciousness along with the conscious brain, realizing that there is a subconscious brain, which the subconscious brain, the term has been around for 200 years. Everyone thinks something different about it. But what I'm really referring to here is the System 1 brain as defined by behavioral economics, where we have this functioning cognitive system that is basically running the show 80% of the time. It's when we feel like we're on autopilot, it's running the show, and it's whatever gets programmed into it, whatever gets conditioned into it by us or by the instinctual core, that's the patterns that we're going to go through. And now there's another character here. This brain is not a separate entity. It is just something that we make use of. But the IC, the instinctual core, is actually a separate, it can be viewed as a separate intelligent entity inside our head because that is actually what it's doing. It starts with a culmination of all our survival instincts that are coded in our DNA, and it makes use, its thinking tool is this system one brain, this subconscious brain. So basically, everything that it's doing is happening outside of our conscious awareness. So, and well, why would we want to not consider that part of ourselves? Well, what we're doing in the IC solution is saying that that is a separate entity inside of us. We want to separate from it and learn to train it. But first of all, why would we want to retrain this thing that is specifically there for our survival? Well, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked. And that is because it was made for a world of 30,000 years ago, a primitive world, a world that doesn't exist today. And it just does not understand today's world at all. And everything it's doing to us today is often, so often, totally counterproductive and dysfunctional and often deadly. Like for me, the instinctual core was forcing me into a life of alcoholism. I was so desperately punished into this world of alcoholism until I realized it was the instinctual core that was putting me there. And then I separated from it and I haven't had a drink in 9.5 years. And I think I've got a stain on my shirt. I should stop looking at myself during these videos. But it's so nice to look at myself because I'm so pretty with this filter. Okay, shut up, Roger. Back to the point. Okay, so the IC solution, we look at the IC perspective, we look at the IC, the instinctual core, as a separate entity. And when that separate entity, when we separate from it, we can start to observe it, see its actions, dissect it, and start to retrain it. Retrain it to work for this world. And that's what we're going to do and show you how Casey went about doing this for her life. So there's more to it than this diagram because we've created, after a lot of work, I've mapped out the user's guide so we can see everything that the IC is doing. And let me show you and let me give you a quick overview of what this user's guide is. Over here, we have the activation filter, and that includes everything that passes through all our sensory inputs, both internal and external, whether it be through sight, sound, hearing, that's the same as sound, isn't it? Through smell, through taste, through touch, through our internal random thoughts that are going through our head. And it kind of processes those. And the activation filter allows first the IC, because the IC is working with that subconscious brain as its main thinking tool. That thing is so much faster than the conscious brain we use. So that speed gives it the first priority to make decisions. So, but it rarely does it move into action affecting our external behavior before it passes the thoughts through us to get it to make a decision. Occasionally it does, like when we jump out of the way of a bus or swat a frisbee flying at us. Back in the good old days, that would be jumping out of the way of a saber-toothed tiger. We still want that part. When it's acting that quick, I'm sorry, it's hot in here. I'm changing this temperature. Turn off. There we go. We still want it, but for most incidents, it's got to run it through us. So I'm going to show you what was going down. So it sets off alarms on all these layers because back in the Stone Ages, all these layers weren't just something that we wanted, they were something that we needed in order to survive. And let's talk about safety. This safety is not immediate threats like someone holding a gun to your face or a saber-toothed tiger running at you. This safety is preparation for a threat coming up. And that involved back then making sure we had a place to sleep that night, making sure we had a home over our head, making sure we were protected from predators coming, making sure that we couldn't get attacked by rival tribes. So it's like not the immediate threat, but taking care of the immediate threats. Okay, so in this world, we don't have those things that might just happen to kill us overnight or within the next week. But that instinctual core has not stopped. It hasn't realized, so it's still looking for what looks like the a threat that is comparable. But there is nothing comparable to having a saber-toothed tiger chase us down and kill us, except for, well, I shouldn't talk for 100% of the population. You know who you are if you're getting shot at by a rival gang, or you're running away from the cops, or you're whatever. There are certain situations that it still exists, or a soldier at war. But for KC, she was not in an actual survival scenario, but the instinctual core told her that she was. So that job, although she could draw a line directly from losing her job to death, but that's like 30 steps out. Lost the job, can't get another job, can't get another job for years, have to move on to my brother's couch, have to move on to, he tosses me out, I go homeless, I can't get any money, no one gives me food, no one gives me any support, can't get another job, I starve and I die. So, but the instinctual core pounces on that last option where everything goes wrong in a consecutive series of events. When what really happens, since she's been a high performer, if she happened to lose her job, she'd be able to get another job within 6 months. At the latest. So, but the instinctual core doesn't know that. That instinctual core sees the job as life and death. So sets off an alarm. This safety alarm is going, you're going to die if you lose this job. So every single little event that happens at the job becomes what they call a fire. You know how people in the corporate world use those phrases? I'm just spending the day putting out fires. And that comes from a real world place because the instinctual core sees these little emergencies as work. Oh no, they turned down my sales pitch. The boss is mad at me. I can't convince people to go along with my plan. Sees all these little, the copy machine is broken. That damn copy machine. And so they see the instinctual core sees all these little fires as, oh no, I'm gonna get fired. So it launches fight or flight. And it's a total systemic all the way through the body, rerouting our blood to our muscles to get us ready to fight. And it sends fear and it sends anger, whether it wants to destroy the threat, destroy that person who disgraced me in the meeting, or avoid the threat, run from my boss before he sees me playing Tetris during, I don't know, do we still play Tetris? During my work during my lunch hour, whatever it is, all these emergencies, and of course attaining that treat. I've got to get that paycheck or death. It sees all these things, and so it's sending judgments. It's sending, oh no, the boss thinks badly of me. Oh, demand, be better, stop sucking. You know, all these things that are running through you. You don't decide to have this fear. You don't decide to make anger. In fact, if you went about things the right way, you would figure out every time you come up on a little hurdle, you'd figure out how to solve it, how to overcome it, because that's all these things are, is a bunch of little hurdles. At the end of the day, you get fired, you get another job. IC doesn't know that. IC is constantly sending KC stress. And these culmination of fires leads to, and the way we refer to stress is just pretty much overwhelm. When you've got so many fires going on that you do not even have the space in your brain to solve a simple spreadsheet or whatever it is Casey had to do at that moment to get done, leading to boom, stress. And during all this time, there are no wins. There are no wins because all these little problems come up. You can't solve them all. You can't ensure that you're never going to lose your job. You can't do that in one day. However, back in the primitive world, if you jump out of the way and kill that saber-toothed tiger, you win. You move on. There's a solution. But at a job, when the instinctual core is running the show, forcing you to do all this, there is never a point where you have total job security. So the fire keeps on going. You leave, and the fight or flight goes on for the unresolved issues. The next day, you have a bad night of sleep. You piss off your family, and everything's going bad. Okay. That was the current situation that she was living in. But being a top performer, so she was getting paid. Now, she decided to take on the IC solution because she realized that she had been totally hijacked. When you have a path from here, and by the way, this could have been happening on the pecking order, the IC evaluation, the belonging, all these things, even the physiological, because if she lost her job, then she wouldn't get food and then also die, right? So I'm just showing you one example. All right. She realized she'd been hijacked and she realized it was bullshit. She wasn't going to lose her job. In fact, all of these reactions that were happening inside her were making her worse at her job. She was still a high performer, although she was only able to use about 5% of the brain to actually work. The rest of the time, the brain was being compounded with all this nonsense. So, what did she do? She just learned how to pass it through. And that's when you start saying, okay, it's not me that's stressing out. That's when she started saying, it's not me that's stressing out, but there's something inside of me that is stressing out. Okay, since I'm doing so much wonderful talking here, I'm going to make my head bigger over here. No, my head's just fine. I know. You want to see it bigger though, don't you? I didn't mention that all this time when she was thinking about when all of those thoughts and those emotions that the IC was sending were her own, she was at the level of explosion. And that's why oftentimes she'd come home and first thing she'd do would be grab a drink. Okay, so now she's learning how to see all these things. She's separating from the instinctual core and see the fear as bullshit and let it pass through her. See the anger as bullshit, let it pass through her. And this takes some practice. See all the demands and judgments as bullshit. She realized, hey, if I lose my job, I lose my job. But I can't live like this because I'm going to lose my life. So she started to learn to see it as separate. That is the key, to see the instinctual core as separate. And then you can let it pass through. Now, so how does she start to live her life? Because she's still got to get the job done. Because before, it was the instinctual core forcing her to. And that's when we move on to the human side. She's letting all that nonsense pass through, but instead she's going to start to do her job because she wants to do her job rather than because she's forced to live this hell just to survive. And she starts thinking about her job. How can she make it intriguing? And there's plenty of intriguing things about it. She faces, instead of impossible hurdles, she faces a lot of intriguing challenges every day. And because of my clicking ability here, I've got to go down here and click from here. No problem. We okay? Intrigue. This job can be intriguing. You can switch anything on a dime to something that is monotonous or cumbersome to intriguing just by thinking about it. This is when she's starting to move on to her human side. She was being forced through life through her instinctual core, and she's taking her job onto the human side. And then she realizes that she appreciates it. She appreciates the people when she's not fighting, when the IC doesn't think she's in a total life-threatening fight with them. And she appreciates the projects, what she's doing. She's a small part of an important process, an important thing that they're doing for the world. And she starts to engage. Instead of being forced to do the work, she decides to get into flow, get into that transitive state of where she is single focused action, one task at a time, realizing that it's not 100 little things. All it is one thing at a time, because that's all we can do as humans, one thing. And when she gives each one thing a lot of flow, oh my gosh, she starts to become more effective. And then she realizes there's a level of self-improvement. When you're working in these levels, all of these things down here start to take care of themselves. But guess what? You're working, and the purpose, now she's part of something greater. The corporation is doing something good for the world, fortunately. She's working for one of them. And so as she starts to live up here, and as these other things, the safety no longer fades, these things start to take care of all of these things. When you're starting to live up in this world, in a world of happiness and comfort, but you're also living in a world of much higher productivity. All these things, all the paycheck still gets sent home at the end of the day. She doesn't get penalized for starting to enjoy her work. She's doing a better job at it because she's able to focus without all the stress and without all the fear and without all the rage. And then she's able to come home and say, I don't need a drink. Now I can enjoy my family because I had a great productive day where I enjoyed life there. Now I can enjoy life here. And at night she gets a good night's sleep because there are no fires going off. So that's what we got at the IC Solution. This user's guide to the IC can work through almost any scenario that I've ever been through, and it saved my life. And I think it can save your life too. And now I'm going to roll on to a little clip that I put at the end of things, which is still really unprofessional, just like all my videos, where it's going to ask you to subscribe and like, but most importantly, if you want to start making changes to your life, come visit us at the Instinct Center. Roll it. In closing, I just wanted to say that I developed the IC Solution in a complete state of desperation. I tried everything out there to quit drinking, and I was on a downward spiral with the finish line of death until I found the first inklings of the IC Solution. And I've developed it for many years to help it have the same result to so many people out there that are suffering. Please help me reach as many people as I can by liking and subscribing to this video. And if you're ready to start making changes for yourself, please come visit us at the Instinct Center and start to try out the separation from your instinctual core and join us in the IC investigation meetups and start your own overriding decisions of your own. I can't wait to have you. It's all for free for the time being, and I'm really looking forward to meeting you. See you soon.